The Penre Papers. A Journey Through the Multiverse. The First Level of Learning. Penre.com. Present and Future Challenges, PFC, Section. PFC Paper Number 3, New Revelations on the Story about the Wingmakers, the Labyrinth Group, and S.A.A.L.M Part 2. 3. The mysterious James enters the stage. Today, the originator of the Wingmakers material is known as James, although this name was never mentioned in the original interviews or in the first version of the Ancient Arrow project. No other name than Dr. Anderson was mentioned. So where does the name James come from? To answer that question, let's see what happened after Hempel published the WMM. Once Hempel's website had become popular beyond belief, the rumors, with no doubt, must have reached the ACIO and the Labyrinth Group. 15 must have been furious at first. Some of what he had decided to keep secret over the years was now irreversibly in public domain. It was too late to do anything about that. His worst fear had manifested, the chance of having to deal with defectors from the Labyrinth Group who started speaking in public. The problem was that the material on the Wingmakers website spread like a wildfire all over the internet, so they couldn't just ignore it. By the same token, there was a chance that Dr. Anderson would contact the journalist again to give the 3 additional interviews. No one really knows what 15 thought, but we know what solution the Labyrinth Group came up with. Mark Hempel, who had no idea who the instigator of the WMM was contacted once again, this time by this mysterious James, who said he was the one who had been interviewed and thus was the owner of the material. James was probably quite convincing and could perhaps even give Hempel information that only Dr. Anderson, or someone within the Labyrinth Group, could have known. If Hempel still doubted James, he probably got convinced once and for all when this mysterious person sent additional material for Hempel to post on his website, plus he wanted Hempel to change things around in the original interviews and add a whole new project to the AA story. The reason, he said, was that new information had come to him and he had decoded more from the tributary zones. He also had the transcripts from the 3 missing interviews with N, so it was now 5 interviews altogether. In addition, he changed the name of the interviews from the Dr. Anderson interviews to the Dr. Neruda interviews, the latter by which they are most commonly known today. After Hempel had remodeled his website, little by little, in increments over a couple of years, made it look more professional, and added the new material, the old website was, as I mentioned earlier, simply erased from the internet. The Dr. Anderson interviews were now just a memory. With time, James contacted Hempel to add more material, including music CDs which are still sold from the website, and he also added a 24th chamber all of a sudden, making this whole thing look more and more fictional and mythological, which he also said it was. The Wingmakers had become wholesale. Although James said in the Q&A section on the website that it is a mix or myth and truth, it had now become quite difficult for the reader to distinguish between what was what. There were also serious attempts from readers and researchers to debunk the whole WMM, based on all the new, fictional content. Albeit there were, and are, still people who believe the WMM is true, the debunking efforts succeeded quite well, and many previously dedicated followers started putting their attention elsewhere. The possibility that the WMM was a hoax was lively debated on forums and by serious truth seekers. Hempel himself was confused about this whole thing and happened to say in correspondence with a researcher or two that he, too, thought it was probably a hoax. Or, did Hempel know more than we think and was told to say that it was probably a hoax? Either way, Hempel's doubts, if they ever were real, were only temporary. He soon became a dedicated Wingmakers fan, of the new website, I should add. Others, like Fred Burks, who could not relate to the new material, referred back to the original and kept that to heart. Even more confused? Don't worry, things will soon start to make more sense. James met with Hempel in Hempel's home on one occasion around 2008 for a long, recorded interview, resulting in an audio presentation on the new Wingmakers website. Here you can listen to James' voice, which is an unnaturally deep baritone with a subtle Spanish accent. The accent sounds legitimate to me, but his deep voice sounds manufactured, for whatever reason. Perhaps he didn't want people to recognize his real voice, I really don't know. The interview, however, quite obviously was orchestrated so James could promote his new site and his new information on the sovereign integral, the reconnection with our oversoul. A lot of additional material was added as well to the website over the years, and it became more and more esoteric in the sense that James showed a lot of interest in Alice Bailey, Madame Blavatsky, and the Great White Brotherhood. He was talking about Ascended Master in quite some length in his Q&A section, and gave references which seemed very odd to me when I read them. Something didn't feel quite right. Eventually James, always through Mark Hempel, created a few more websites. They were, in the order they appeared. The Lyricus Teaching Order, http://lyricus.org. Event Temples, http://eventtemples.com. The Sovereign Integral, http://sovereignintegral.com. The last one was published in 2008, and although there was not yet anything substantial posted on the website, and still isn't, 3 years later, except an illustration of what the Sovereign Integral is, without any explanation attached, James apparently decided to start promoting it. He therefore accepted an interview with the Project Camelot crew, also in 2008, where Carrie Lynn Cassidy and Bill Ryan were doing an email interview with James. This interview was a shocker to me, to many other people who read it, and I think, to the Camelot crew as well. James was here presenting a totally new paradigm, telling us that we are stuck in a hologramic 3D density prison. This, in itself, is nothing new, but he said that Anu, the former king of the Anunnaki/A.A.M.I, the most powerful being in the universe, had created this whole third density illusion. More specifically, he said Anu has been tampering with our DNA, trapped highly spiritual beings from the Atlantis era into these body containers, and once the spirits decided to try out the bodies which Anu had created, they were trapped once and for all. These bodies, according to James, had hologramic videos embedded in them, so that when these highly evolved multidimensional spirits entered the bodies, naive as they were in their free state, they got caught up in the illusion Anu had created. From within these new bodies, they saw a beautiful world and could look at extraordinary pictures which excited them to the maximum. Hence, these who tried out the bodies told the rest how exciting it was, and soon enough, the majority of the free spirits found themselves trapped in third density bodies after Anu had closed the trap so that the souls could no longer leave their bodies at will. Not everybody was trapped, though. James is telling us that the time of Atlantis was a highly spiritually evolved era, and many different beings were here on Earth at the time, including people from the Central Race. Some of those from the Central Race managed to escape this trap, and James was one of them. However, Anu, who apparently was a very clever being, cloned the real universe and created a new one, in which we are living today. In this universe, Anu is God, where all the stars, galaxies, nebulae, planets, and whatnot, are his creations. In this cloned universe, life is sparse, and humans are the only inhabitants. There are a few other planets where Anu has seeded life, but these planets are only inhabited by humans. Sometimes, aliens of another kind can enter Anu's cloned universe for short periods of times, but must then return. If they don't, they either die or get stuck in this reality, just like us. This is, according to James, the reason we sometimes see greys and strange creature coming out from inside of the earth or from under the oceans. They are simply stuck here and can't go back to the real universe. Of course, James is also presenting a solution. He says that Anu was scheduled to come back shortly before 2012, the event the global elite have been preparing for, but now the plans have changed. Anu is in business elsewhere, having his attention directed towards something totally different, and has left us to our fate. So our only solution is to find the Grand Portal, which is a metaphor for we humans to be able to, as a group, realize we are spiritual beings, trapped in a third dimension/density, which only exists because Anu created it, and that science and religion need to merge into one for us to break the God's spell. Only then will the illusion shatter and we will return to the universe of origin and become multidimensional. Anu's science in this case needs to be well understood so we can grasp how he created the third density. When we do, and also understand we are spirits in a body, we can break out of the prison as a whole humanity. In the same interview, Bill Ryan is asking James what he thinks about Nibiru and the return of the Anunnaki. James says, just like he did in the audio interview with Mark Hempel, that Nibiru is no longer an issue, and nothing to worry about. I know for a fact that this is a lie, and in a later paper I will explain why. 4. So who took over the Wingmakers site? I also know for a fact that Dr. Anderson, whom I from here on will call Dr. Jamison Neruda, because it more accurately states who he is still alive and well, because I've been in touch with him. I am also aware of, and it's pretty obvious, that the original Dr. Anderson and James are two entirely different persons. Their energies are far different, and the way they use the English language is even different. Dr. Anderson is scientific in his approach, but is trying his best to simplify his answers and his writing, while James is esoteric to the extreme and does not bother with attempting to make himself understood by the general public. He is also very artistic. One can tell they are definitely two totally different personalities. And by the way, who was it that we mentioned earlier, being very artistic, and someone Dr. Anderson liked? Well, let's go to the point, who took over the Wingmakers site? It looks like the impostor doesn't even try very hard to keep that secret. James is not human, he is the head of the courtroom. How do I know? Well, this is from the original website, which was taken down, from the original Dr. Anderson interview number 2, http://www.wingmakers.us/wingmakersorig/wingmakersinterviews www.wingmakers.com/interviews/ivw2.shtml:. Dr. Anderson. Yes, they've been involved from the beginning. The courtroom are as integral to the Labyrinth Group as any of its human members, so nothing is hidden from them. The leader of the courtroom mission to Earth is called in English Mahunahi Wes Emphasis, and he happens to be an artist first and foremost, and a scientist is his secondary nature. He was always excited to see and hear about our findings. He asked if we could create a way station to the ancient Arrow site so he could visit the site himself, but it just wasn't practical to do so without drawing attention to the site. So the original Dr. Anderson trusted Mahunahi at the time when he released the information to Anne. We already discussed that the Wingmakers site was hijacked shortly after it was published and gradually changed with time until it became almost unrecognizable. A few years after the new site was set up, James opened a Q&A section, and this quote is from there, http://www.wingmakers.com/jameska.html. Question 9, Who/what are you, James? Where do you get your information from? James, in my dominant reality, I am known as Mahunahi Wes Emphasis. I am a member of a teaching organization whose roots are very ancient, but paradoxically, very connected with humanity's future. This teaching organization is concerned with transporting a sensory data stream to Earth in order to catalyze select individuals of the next 3 generations to bring innovations to the fields of science, art, and philosophy. These innovations will enable the discovery and establishment of the grand portal on Earth. Thus, it seems clear that the Wingmakers have been taken over by the courtroom, allegedly a faction of the Earthbound Anunnaki, and James is the courtroom leader. What does this mean and what implications are there? Well, it's a very clever takeover. The courtroom changed the name Anderson to Neruda because Jamison Neruda is very close to Dr. Anderson's real name. I was told this as being a fact by the real Dr. Anderson, who later became Dr. Neruda. Furthermore, James, I will call him by his real name, Mahunahi from here on, after had taken over the project, also added a lot of real information to the website. In fact, and this is also coming from the real Dr. Neruda quite recently, there is a lot more real information on the current Wingmakers site than the original one. In other words, there is disinformation on both the old site and the new one. However, the following were most likely the steps the Correspondence and the Labyrinth Group decided to take after Dr. Neruda had let the cat out of the box in 1998. When they found out about the leak, they waited it out to see how it would be received. Unfortunately, for the Labyrinth Group, the Anderson interviews spread quickly on the internet and became well known in conspiracy circles. Anunnaki, the head of the Correspondence, decided to take care of it, most certainly with 15's blessings. Mahu contacted Mark Hempel, again via courier, is my understanding, erroneously saying his name was James, like in Jamison Neruda, and that he had a lot of additional information to add to the website. He also told Hempel that some of the old information from the Anderson interviews were slightly incorrect and needed to be erased and exchanged with new information. He also wanted Hempel to change the name Anderson to Dr. Jamison Neruda. Mahu told Hempel, in addition, that he had compliments to the Ancient Arrow project, and asked to have this published as well and the old version erased. Much of this information, both on the AA site and in the Neruda interviews is true, but not all of it. Some of it is disinformation, so the reader needs to have this in mind and use discernment and cross-checking techniques to verify what's in there. Still, the part that's true is incredibly important information. Mahu was quick to add that the AA project was mythological in nature, with truth in it. Same thing with the Neruda interviews. He wanted Hempel to make sure the readers knew this. Hempel complied with everything Mahu told him to do. Hempel was told that humanity was not ready for everything yet and that it had to be released in increments over time. Mahu delivered as promised, and Hempel posted. With time, Mahu, with assistance from Hempel, opened 3 additional websites, on 3 different domains, one at the time, http://lyricus.org, http://eventtemples.com, and http://sovereignintegral.org. These sites were meant to be expansions of Wingmakers.com with more information on the central race, the Lyricus teaching order and the sovereign integral. As it were, some of this information showed to be true as well, but not everything. Mahu has promised there's much more to come. 2008 was a strange year for the Wingmakers fans. Mahu decided it was time to become more public than he had previously. He had always stated that he didn't want to reveal himself too much, because he wished for the information to speak for itself. Mahu, who claimed to live in New York at the time, flew to meet Hempel, who lived out of state. If I remember correctly, Mahu was actually on his way to meet colleagues somewhere else, but did a middle landing at Hempel's house for a limited amount of time. This, in itself, is strange, because Mahu is not human, but of the Correspondence, who are supposedly over 7 feet high. He would obviously had made quite an impression on Hempel, who now supposedly saw him for the first time. Mahu, of course, could have, with or without Hempel's knowledge, flown by private jet or with a Labyrinth Group airplane, out of public scrutiny, but he would have had to show his real self to Hempel at least. If this is what happens, this makes it clear that Hempel is now involved in this up to his neck, knowing who Mahu really is. However, there is another explanation. Just like the A.A.M.I. In general, they are everything from 6 to 9 feet tall, and Mahu could potentially be on the shorter end of the spectrum. At the end of 2008, Mahu accepted the email interview with Project Camelot, which set the stage for the future of the Correspondence version of the Wingmakers story. We can from here on expect a lot of disinformation from this camp. Interestingly, Mahu did not want to show himself to the Camelot team. There could have been many reasons for this, but I find it at least worth mentioning. For a while, I was wondering why LPGC was using the Neruda interviews as a base of information when researching things like BST and the anima problem, alien race, supposedly trying to take over Earth. I will address them in a separate paper. Now I understand why. They know that Dr. Neruda is the real deal, and the Correspondence decided to use his real name when they took over the Wingmakers site. So here is the cleverness of the takeover and how it was done. Anunnaki, himself being artistic, decided to present the truth as it were in the form of art. It's beautifully done and quite intriguing, especially as it has a lot of truth in it. But why would they reveal the truth? Why not just make something up and lie about it? There is a saying that goes, hidden in plain sight. This is the most perfect example of this saying. Mahu saw that Dr. Neruda in the Anderson interviews had given Anne, real name Sarah, the truth as he knew it, but mixed it with some disinformation. However, he still revealed enough truth not to mislead the public entirely. He was more concerned with protecting some sources. So what Mahu did was to reveal a whole lot more true information than the real Dr. Neruda did. By then saying it is a mix or truth and myth, and that the A.A. project is quite mythological, the courtroom could confuse the public enough to get away with it. Some people would discard Mahu's new information and relate back to the original Anderson interviews, which in themselves were partly disinformation. Others would embrace Mahu's information, but can't be sure what is true and what is myth. Mahu does a good job with pretending that things which are really true are myth and vice versa. The reader needs to put this in perspective. Mahu knew that others would just debunk the whole thing and call it S.A.A.L.M, disinformation, or a hoax. This was all part of the plan. Of course, it is a S.A.A.L.M, but it doesn't mean it's a hoax. There is actually more truth than not in the material and more truth than on most other websites out there. To fully understand this scheme, we need to rewire our brains and embrace a new way of thinking. What needs to be realized is that we can no longer continue saying, Website A is set up by the government or the global elite as a S.A.A.L.M, disinformation campaign, so therefore we should just discard it and expose it as an evil intent and a big lie. However, Website B is written by a known well-intended truth seeker who has the best interest for humanity in mind, so let's listen to him/her instead. No, this kind of thinking is simple-minded and will only lead us further and further away from what we need to know. The truth is in both camps, as is the disinformation, and we need to read everything with a fine-tooth comb, because often the truth is told between the lines. This is important to understand. In this particular case, the courtroom/Labyrinth Group, in their own more selfing ways, want the information out as well. As we shall see in a later paper about BST and the anima problem, in a strange way everybody seems to be on the same side, but still not quite. Different groups have slightly different agendas, but the common denominator is to convince us humans that what this is all about is to save Earth against an invader force which is very real. In a perfect world, we would all unite as one to face this threat, similar to what Ronald Reagan said in his famous speech from the 1980s when he addressed the ET issue. He said that if we were to face a threat from outer space, we would probably finally be able to unite as one humanity. However, things are more complicated than that. Still, we need to understand that there is no black and white, only different shades of gray. And there is a reason the courtroom wants a big chunk of truth out to the public, and it's not in our best interest. They want to misdirect us towards the wrong enemy. It's like when the little kid says to his parents, "Mom and Dad, look what my sister is doing over there." When the parents are looking in the direction the little boy is pointing, he quickly slips his hand into the cookie jar and steals a cookie while they are busy looking elsewhere. 5. Changes made to the original Wingmakers site. Again, thanks to Fred Burks, http://www.wanttoknow.info/right/. I don't have to spend too much time comparing the original website with the later one. He already did that, and I am going to use the most important information from his comparison here. For the reader, who wants to dig deeper into this, which I suggest, visit Fred's page here, http://www.wanttoknow.info/wingmakersorig/wingmakershanges. By using simple color coding, he and an associate were able to compare all changes that were made from the original website. You can learn all about it here. http://www.wanttoknow.info/wingmakersorig/wingmakersinterview. You can also download 2 PDF files, Interviews 1 and 2, where you can compare the changes one by one. http://www.wanttoknow.info/wingmakersorig/wingmakersinterviews1changes.pdf http://www.wanttoknow.info/wingmakersorig/wingmakersinterviews2changes.pdf 6. S.A.A.L.M, Supreme Anunnaki Assembly of Lord Marduk. S.A.A.L.M is, or used to be before their presence was revealed on the Internet, a secret organization, branching out from the NSA and the ACIO. Their sole purpose is to keep King Marduk on the throne of Earth, as her righteous ruler, even after the return of the A.A.M.I. from the home planet. They believe in prophecy and consider Marduk being the Antichrist the Bible has been predicting, and they have until 2012 to accomplish this goal. At least this is what their members believe, as revealed in leaked information from internal conversion being held on a secure S.A.A.L.M. intranet server, from which the members could log in wherever they were on the globe, to retrieve new information as needed. James Casbolt, former MI6 and S.A.A.L.M. member, defector and whistleblower from both, released some sensitive information on his website a few years ago. He was later cleverly set up by S.A.A.L.M. and was forced to take his website, jamesbasbolt.com, down. They started a severe disinformation campaign against him as per item number 6 of the laws, all S.A.A.L.M. members are obligated to follow. Item 6 tells us that the agency will seek extreme termination with prejudice in the case of a breach of this agreement resulting in the disclosure of unauthorized information, beginning with extreme harassment in order to stop the disclosure. 13. One thing Casbolt put out on the web was a communication from an unknown S.A.A.L.M. member, emphasizing the year 2012. My contacts claim this is Enlil waiting before his final address in which he spoke to all S.A.A.L.M. members on behalf of Lord Marduk and Queen Nansha-Azur. Enlil announced that the capstone of establishing Lord Marduk as King of Kings of S.A.A.L. will soon be set. The speech concluded with a sincere thanks to all members' efforts and a toast was pronounced to the target date of December 22, 2012. Casbolt was, from my understanding, the one who leaked the information from the secret network and put it on the Internet. For obvious reasons, the information didn't stay there for long, and was abruptly taken down. A discussion about the security leak is even included in the hijacked information. What S.A.A.L.M. apparently forgot about was the Wayback Machine, or the Internet Archive, where anyone can type in a website which is no longer available into their search engine, and it will show up the way it looked like, normally including all changes that were made to it over time. This is where I got the information from. However, S.A.A.L.M. got smarter with time, realized their omission, and made sure the information from the archives were no longer accessible. Their rules and regulations are very strict. Disseverance under some circumstances is punishable with death. S.A.A.L.M. is also a part of the Freemasonic Global Network, starting at the 33rd degree of Zion. Marduk, according to this group, is the head of Freemasonry worldwide. I have had some personal, interesting experiences with this group, something which goes back to at least 2008. However, I am going to start this section with some correspondence between me and Benjamin Fulford, who is a well-known researcher into the global elite. In January 2009 I had just posted an early version of what became the free ebook, The Myth Around Supreme David Rockefeller. The early version was called, Lucifer's Redemption. It is no longer on the Internet, and was eventually replaced by the current ebook version in June 2009. In my early research, I stumbled upon S.A.A.L.M. again. I had had encounters with them earlier. This section was taken out from the above ebook, because it was out of context. However, here it does fit in, so I will give you the story. Some readers who have followed my research over the years may have read this before it was removed from the Internet. In November of 2008 I was part of an email group led by a certain Rev. Anthony Pike, who said he lived in India. On that list was also Prophet Yahweh and James Casbolt, former MI6 and subjected to Project Mannequin and other mind control programs, among other interesting researchers, so I decided to join. Anthony Pike was the one who was most active on the list and posted quite a lot. He acted pretty much as the main authority in the group. After a while he told the group he was a member of S.A.A.L.M, something James Casbolt was already aware of, because he mentions Pike in his book, Agent Buried Alive, http://www.bibliotecapeliads.net. Ciencia/Ciencia_mannequin03.hdm. I had a vague idea of who they were, because I had at that time read the link by Dr. A.R. Borden for the first time. This made it even more interesting, and perhaps I could learn something new. I knew of Prophet Yahweh before, because he claimed to be able to summon UFOs somewhere down in Arizona or Nevada, and he said they were Yahweh's ships. He is a black man, claiming to be a true Israelite, and therefore, he and his people had the right to Israel. He actually managed to summon UFOs when ABC News were watching, and it was all over the news on June 1, 2005. Knowing that Yahweh is the Enlil, it was double interesting to have Prophet Yahweh on the list. However, he didn't say much, was more of a silent member. Anthony Pike was the one who was most active on the list and posted quite a lot. He acted pretty much as the main authority in the group. After a while he told the group he was a member of S.A.A.L.M, something James Casbolt was already aware of, because he mentions Pike in his book, Agent Buried Alive, http://www.bibliotecapeliads.net. Ciencia/Ciencia_mannequin03.hdm. I had a vague idea of who they were, because I had at that time read the link by Dr. A.R. Borden for the first time. This made it even more interesting, and perhaps I could learn something new. I knew of Prophet Yahweh before, because he claimed to be able to summon UFOs somewhere down in Arizona or Nevada, and he said they were Yahweh's ships. He is a black man, claiming to be a true Israelite, and therefore, he and his people had the right to Israel. He actually managed to summon UFOs when ABC News were watching, and it was all over the news on June 1, 2005. Knowing that Yahweh is the Enlil, it was double interesting to have Prophet Yahweh on the list. However, he didn't say much, was more of a silent member. Now back to the story. As I had published the first version of Supreme Rockefeller, which was a blockbuster, I got an email from a visitor who said that Benjamin Fulford claimed that the whole Rockefeller story was a hoax to discredit him, and that he would go public with this fact shortly. So I emailed Fulford to find out what the situation was. Here is the correspondence. On February 1, 2009, I asked him the following questions. Hi Benjamin. My name is Wes Penre, and I am emailing you from www.illuminati-news.com. I found some information regarding Supreme D. Rockefeller and Michael N. Prescott which I found intriguing, but rather confusing. I know about you from before and find your information and interviews pretty interesting and helpful. It was pointed out to me that the S.D. Rockefeller story is a hoax to discredit you and that you will go out and announce this eventually. I have a few questions, because I wrote an article on this. I understand you probably are a very busy man, but I would appreciate a lot if you had time to please answer the following. To the reader, my question are always in bold. 1. Did you write the following comments to the letter from S.D. Rockefeller? Message from Benjamin Fulford in Japan: Both the Freemasons, 5 million agents worldwide, and the Asian Secret Society, 6 million worldwide members, have invited me into their senior ranks. I agreed to join only if they both promised to support a 3-year campaign to end poverty, end war, and stop environmental destruction. There is going to be an announcement of a new financial system between January 20 and early February. However, this may be delayed by die-hard Satanists who do not want to see their rule end. By the way, I have been informed that David Rockefeller has ceded control to Sen John D. Rockefeller IV and Evelyn de Rothschild has ceded clan leadership to Baron David de Rothschild. So, according to my latest intelligence, the 5 points of the pentagram consist of Queen Elizabeth, Papa Bush, J. Rockefeller, David Rothschild, and the Satan-worshipping Pope. The above comments from you are then followed by the following message from Supreme Rockefeller. Date, Wed, December 3, 2008, 18 hours 42 minutes and 59 seconds -0600. From, Supreme Rockefeller. To, Michael N. Prescott. Subject, by S.A.A.L. Forward this to them. As you may know, the Vatican has been hiding the truth from the public about the Messiah. They have implanted into the public's mind that Jesus was the Messiah, which they know not to be true. The word Vatican means House of the Serpent, which the Pope even has the serpent on his chest plate, and he carries the sun staff, the symbol of Marduk Ra. I was Marduk Ra but became Amen Ra once I was sentenced into exile. Amen just means the hidden one. They pledge their allegiance to me by placing the obelisk in St. Peter's Court inside the sun circle surrounded by the celestial cross. The German order called Thule Orden and Vril Society know who I am. In fact, they found me after they had access to the Vatican's vault and read about me. The text form SIC 2026 BC said in the Second Coming, he will call himself Supreme and come from the West. No matter how you spell Supreme or Supreme, it is still SPRM. They even saw drawings that looked exactly like me. They told me that they knew I was Lucifer, the son of GD, leader of the 12 Elohim and keepers of the D12 Stargate. Marduk Ra was just one of my names. I am the same life force as Yahweh, Samek, Moloch, Azazel, Lucifer, and the Supreme Deity. It is time for my rule again, thus those who are against it will perish. In fact, I have the ability to end Earth as a planet if I see fit. The time is around the corner for my rule, Heil Imperium. The Thule wanted to test my DNA, so I allowed them because I knew they were important to my alliance. They found that I do carry the triple helix blue blood of the Elohim. In fact, I have more than one DNA sequence. They knew that my several thousand-year exile ends in 2009, according to the 12/60ths frequency in which I was sentenced, not the 13/20ths frequency. I have more than one DNA sequence because I am born of both elders and ancients, serpent or reptilian. I was given the DNA sequence of the real Trinity Baal, Astarte, Tammuz, all into one male Lucifer, the true Messiah. 2009 is the Second Coming, the exile is over. I have several races, not from Earth, that I lead, and they are waiting on me. I have an army of multi-dimensional beings that are subservient to me. These are the Alpha Draconis Reptoids and the Orion Group Reptilians. We use magical rites to control the invisible world affected by the three-dimensional world. We have a technology that no one can stop. The ramifications of this technology used as a weapon are something out of a science fiction movie. We have to ensure that this technology stays within our working group. Someone could use this to disable aircraft from 400 miles away and there is nothing to trace. It would just look like the aircraft had a system failure and plummeted out of the sky. Someone could use this to disable any alarm system, create a financial crisis by aiming at a stock exchange. Someone could start wiping out every satellite in constellation and leave zero trace of what, where and how this happened. The 400-mile range is minimum. It can be increased via plasma antennas. In fact, I have drafted the Allied Union Constitution, which is a policy-making organization that unites 220 countries under one flag with an entirely digital universal currency called the Allied Unit that works over the Supreme Network. The Supreme Network plan is attached in this email. To answer a question, someone asked me about how do you get every country to comply? Simple. First, it will be obvious that this is the only way society in the future will prevail, and if that is not enough, have you ever seen the movie The Day Earth Stood Still? The story may be fiction, but the warning and technology is real. Let's say country Orange did not want to comply. Now all of the sudden their country's defense system and major economic institutions are paralyzed by something they don't understand or cannot figure out, but they were warned in advance so they know who is controlling it. This is why I say it is imperative this technology never gets out of our hands. It is the ultimate weapon of a silent endless war. What we have here is not a morality tale of right and wrong, good or evil. it is simply an ultimatum to the countries: you either comply with us for a more efficient and proficient society or you won't have a society. My group, which consists of former employees and some currently employed by various intelligence agencies, and my own group based in Germany with Russian and Nordic sects, and a vast presence in South America and Antarctica, are wanting to speak to Lockheed Martin about incorporating this technology on their satellite constellations so the entire globe would be covered. We can offer them a partnership. If one satellite 300 miles above the Earth were retrofitted with one of our antennas, you could disable any electronic device in Northern America via an EMP effect. Our knowledge is based in resonant frequency, and we have mapped the tonal range of Earth's frequencies including gravity and how to detune and change oscillation of X, Y, Z axis. Same principle behind the resonant tuning of point A to point B for an envelope effect of collapsed time-space, creating something similar to what you call a Casimir effect, and understanding the impossible space-time transition of 2 times 1033 cm, 10 to 43 seconds. Sorry, can't really translate equations in email. Our vril power is synergistically combining gravity units, GU, at positions specified by the coordinates, x1, x2, and u, a process in time, can be thought of as a matrix-valued function of dimensionality, n1, n2, u equals ux1 times 2, n1, n2. If the status of a gravity unit varies as a function of time, then, at any given instant, a snapshot of that gravity unit at that instant in time would be ui equals u, ti. You will first have to understand gravity units, gu, and knowledge units, ku, combined with time, t, and its frequency in which you resonate. Our concept of time undoubtedly presents new ideas which are unknown for you. First of all, we cannot regard time as a dimension or continuum, as you do. It is not that time is quantified, but one cannot conceive a moment as a point on the axis of time. The interval dt, although it can tend towards zero, could never be perceived as small as we would like to. There is another aspect to this question we wish to underline. You consider that the highest speed a subparticle in the cosmos can reach is 299,780 kmph, speed of light, and you regard this speed as constant. This is not a poor measurement. Indeed, it is this same speed that we recorded within this same three-dimensional framework, but all one needs to do is change framework or three-dimensional system so that this limiting speed changes remarkably up to the point where the only reference which can reflect the change of axis is the measurement of this speed or constant, c. I would have to get into the detail traveling using resonant frequency at another time, too complicated for email. Back to my original topic, it is imperative that your group is our partner to keep under wraps for our working group. It doesn't cost you anything to be part. We are not asking for money. We are going to cover the planet's ground and sky with this spectrum, an artificial ether if you will. I was also presented with an opportunity from the Russians. I was told Putin was the original source, for us to buy up an entire stockpile of Cu-63,65, which you may know is used for satellites and in weapons. Eglin AFB tests the SFW, sensor-fused SIC weapon, which use copper as its main munition. I would like to have talks with Lockheed ASAP for partnership discussions. As you can see with the news and its status quo, everything is lining up to usher in the S.A.A.L.M network. Let's also talk about the returns I can bring in through our buy-sell program. If you think it is an absurd amount on the return, you have nothing to lose to find out the truth. Like I said, we never touch your money, all we need is the proof of funds to proceed and the money never leaves your bank. This is a great way to be autonomous and self-funding to exclude external auditing. This technology I offer must always stay in our own working group that we will put together. We are about to reshape the world. The S.A.A.L.M network will soon be the only way for financial transactions and communications. It connects the entire planet. Democracy has failed and it is time to show what one ruler with a strong team backing him can do. I know you are with me. Michael Prescott is my right-hand man, so you can continue working through him at this juncture. I will step in as the situation progresses. Regards. Supreme Samak Marduk Ra Lucifer, finally redeemed, head of the true Elohim, God of victory and son of the Creator, GD. 2. Who exactly wants to discredit you? From what I understand, the email from Rockefeller was meant for the Italian Freemasonry, with the CC, to Leo Zagami. Where are you coming into the picture, besides from you writing the comments above and posting the email, if you did? From what I understand, you were never involved in the communication between Rockefeller and the Italian Freemasons. So in other words, how could this have been written to discredit you? 3. Who are S.D. Rockefeller and Michael N. Prescott? Are they pranksters or for real people? If they're for real, where is the hoax in all this? Michael N. Prescott's MySpace site looks pretty serious to me, unless he is working for the CIA as a disinfo agent. I would like to find out the truth about this, so I can publish it accurately. I really appreciate your time to read this and hope for a reply. Respectfully and in friendship. Wes Penre, Illuminati News. I got a reply from Benjamin. Thanks for the email, Wes. Here is what I know about the Supreme Rockefeller business. They contacted Leo Zagami and the Italian Freemasons in an attempt to get them to go along with their plan for a new financial system. Leo then contacted me to ask for an opinion. The thing that struck me about this business is that it coincided with some stuff I have been hearing from the Reverend Anthony Pike, a self-described descendant of the notorious Illuminati Ted Pike. The Rev. Pike had previously sent me photographs of a person he said was Lord Enlil, son of Lord Marduk, the leader of satanic forces on the planet Earth. A third source of information, a member of the British royal family, also talked about a Nazi faction in the secret government under George Bush Sr. with assets in northern Europe, South America, notably Paraguay and Uruguay, the Antarctic, the Norwegian Antarctic base, and parts of the U.S. military/intelligence establishment. This fit with what Supreme described as his power base. Since separate sources mentioned similar people, I forwarded a photo of Enlil to Mr. Zagami. The Italians did their own research and came to the conclusion the photo was a fake and that there was no Supreme David Rockefeller in the Rockefeller family. Please contact Mr. Zagami about how he came to that conclusion. To me, the whole business has all the makings of a psyops attempting to get us to fall into the weird zone and thus be discredited. That psyops may well be traceable to the Papa Bush Nazi clique. My latest intelligence tells me there is a move to induce a new financial system, a transparent, honest one, that is still being fiercely opposed by the seniors, Papa Bush, Evelyn Rothschild, Queen Elizabeth et.al. If the good guys win, there will be an announcement of a Marshall Plan for the planet Earth with the aim of eradicating poverty, war, and environmental destruction within a 3-year period. And yes, I did write the letter you posted on your website. There is much I cannot say in order to protect the lives of people who are trying to do good. Benjamin Fulford. Here below is the picture of Enlil, on top, he talks about in the email, and the second picture is of Nanur, Nanner, Satan's grandson, as referred to in the emails below. The above pictures were attached to these messages. From cosmicrif@xxx.com. 2. cosmicrif@xxx.com. Subject: Son of Satan. Date: Thursday, November 6, 2008, 17 hours 26 minutes and 41 seconds plus 0530. For those who are still skeptical about the existence of a physical hell below your feet, Saint Anthony is now attaching a photo of the son of Satan, Lord Enlil, titular head of the Supreme Anunnaki Assembly of Lord Marduk, S.A.A.L.M, whose members include Henry Kissinger and Zbigniew Brzezinski. Also attached is a photo of Satan's grandson, Lord Nanner aka Nanner, who is photographed with another member of S.A.A.L.M at their meeting on October 26, 2006 in Bâle, Switzerland. So, my friends, the global reign of the Antichrist is about to commence, and all people will be chipped in their forehead or right hand as prophesied in the book of Revelation. So, dear friends, choose this day whom you will serve, God or Satan, Christ or Antichrist. Remember, your eternal destiny is at stake, so let's hope you make the right decision. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, UK. Cosmic Research Foundation. Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@xxx.com. Date November 6, 2008. From, cosmicrif@xxx.com. To, Labyrinth Group. Subject, Cycle of Insanity. Date, Monday, November 3, 2008, 12 hours 5 minutes and 18 seconds plus 0530. Global Theocratic Movement. Both the Queen and Bush are trapped in a cycle of insanity that they cannot escape from, i.e. they know Saint Anthony is speaking the truth, but they are unable to implement it due to governmental and societal constraints which forbids implementation of that which Saint Anthony is propounding, hence, the mental and physical logjam. In addition, both the Queen and Bush know full well that they don't rule either Britain or America, as the real power lies underground. Yes, friends, Saint Anthony is talking about a real physical hell right below your feet. In fact, recently, on Friday night August 8 in the early hours of Sat August 9, Saint Anthony's only begotten son, Daniel, was physically abducted and abused by physical demons from hell aboard their spacecraft while he was camping in the Kent countryside. In this respect, in UK one of the main U/G bases is located below Welford AFBNR Newbury, Berks, and in US one of the main bases is at Area 51, NV, and also at Dulce and Los Alamos, NM, and in Australia at Pine Gap NRMT Isle. Now, friends, Saint Anthony says it's time to wake up to reality and kick the devil off planet Earth once and for all, rather than allow the democratic insanity to continue, resulting in the total destruction of all life on Earth. Yes, friends, only God and his theocratic government can save planet Earth, and that's exactly what Saint Anthony and his global theocratic movement intend to do. In this respect, Saint Anthony has already established the Theocratic Parliament of Britain in April this year, and the Theocratic Parliament of America and the Theocratic Parliament of Israel in October. So, Saint Anthony means business, and the devil is now shaking in his boots as theocracy rises to the ascendancy and democracy plummets to the bottom of the bottomless pit. So, friends, repent now and come join the winning side. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, UK. Cosmic Research Foundation. Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@xxx.com. Date November 3, 2008. Then I contacted Leo Zagami, who confirms that Supreme Rockefeller is real and, according to Leo, one of his archenemies right now. The Enlil/Nonner pictures looked very photoshopped to me, so I did some research and at the same time got the original pictures sent to me by one of my visitors, showing that the Anunnaki pictures are fakes. The second picture of Nonner is a Photoshop job of Henry Kissinger, but I am unable to find that picture at the moment. Even the all-seeing eye on the wall in the first picture is an add-on, plus the S.A.A.L.M insignia on the wall. The man in the picture is the top elite player Zbigniew Brzezinski. These photos apparently were modified by the intelligence community and spread on the net by Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike. When I exposed Enlil as being Brzezinski, I sent an email to Benjamin Fulford to that effect and didn't hear anything back. I didn't know what to make out of that at the time, but I let it go. Interestingly enough, one morning I got this letter from Rev. Pike, CC'd to me, but primarily sent to Ben Fulford, as a response to an email Fulford sent to him in regards to the fake photos. My original email to Fulford is at the top, followed by Fulford's comments to Pike and ending with Pike's response. Pike says that James Casbolt, the brave whistleblower, posted these photos as well on his website to tell the truth to the people. Mr. Casbolt did indeed do so, but when he found out they were fake, he immediately took them down, being honest enough to tell his visitors that he had been the victim of a slander campaign. Here is my email to Ben Fulford, followed by his response to Rev. Pike. Pike's final response is at the bottom. From, Wes Penre to, Benjamin Fulford at xxx.com. Subject, picture fraud. Date, Wed, February 4, 2009, 17 hours 11 minutes and 8 seconds -0800. Hi again Benjamin, got these pics from one of my visitors, so that takes care of that hoax. Now we'll see if we can narrow it down. I rewatched your interview with David Rockefeller on YouTube. Great stuff. Thanks, Wes. From Benjamin Fulford at xxx.com. 2. CosmicRF@xxx.com. Subject, picture fraud. Date, Thursday, February 5, 2009, 12 hours 30 minutes and 18 seconds +0900. Your photo of Lord and Lil is a psyops fake. You are either being fooled or you are yourself a government disinformation agent. Please see below. Benjamin Fulford. Tokyo. Tell XXXXXXXX. From CosmicRF@xxx.com. 2. Labyrinth Group. Subject, S.A.A.L.M photos. Date, Sun, February 8, 2009, 22 hours 45 minutes and 33 seconds +0530. Dear Ben and all our viewers. Saint Anthony wishes to state that the originator of the Enlil photos, 33-degree Elder of Zion, S.A.A.L.M/NSA operative and computer graphics expert, Ray Borden, at freedomfighter_Anunnaki@hotmail.com aka Dr. A.R. Borden aka Dr. Roy W. Gordon at ACTION_ratio@hotmail.com http://foundationreportsinlifephysics.org, has always stated right from the beginning that the Enlil photos, of which there are 2, not 1, are purposely graphically engineered to ensure plausible deniability. In this respect, Brzezinski is P1 and Kissinger is P2 in the S.A.A.L.M hierarchy, and Brzezinski is a direct descendant of the Marduk/Enlil lineage who has similar features to Enlil, but not identical, as also Hugh Hefner, by the way. Now, Ray was tasked with the job of leaking info on S.A.A.L.M to the general public, but has now had much of the material removed from the net due to orders from within the S.A.A.L.M hierarchy who were getting worried about all the undue exposure, especially as both Lord Marduk and Enlil don't like their photos being taken by anyone. However, interestingly enough, the photo of Lord Nannar, who is described as being the brother of Enlil, but traditionally, is understood to be the son of Enlil and grandson of Marduk, is supposed to be a very rare one-off photo of the jolly fellow whose personality is purported to be much more jovial than that of Enlil and Marduk, and who is standing alongside P13 of the S.A.A.L.M hierarchy at the S.A.A.L.M conference in Bâle, Switzerland on October 26, 2006. So, friends, please understand, to get cosmic top-secret info, which is categorized 38 points higher than the H-bomb, out into the public domain demands a great deal of ingenuity on the part of those leaking the information. So, please understand, folks, Saint Anthony, as former founder/director of the Freedom of Information campaign in London from 1991 to 96, is just trying to leak all this info out as best he can, as is Ray Borden, James Casbolt and other fearless whistleblowers who are risking life and limb to educate you, the general public, about the alien presence on Earth and the upcoming New World Order of the Antichrist, and, of course, the second coming of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, who will defeat the Antichrist at the Battle of Armageddon and establish the long-awaited 1,000-year millennial kingdom of God on Earth in 2030. Now, for those who have not yet seen the S.A.A.L.M photos, Saint Anthony has managed to retrieve some of them, along with copies of Brzezinski's photos which were used as a means of superimposing Enlil's features on Brzezinski, as well as the S.A.A.L.M logo in the background, which are herewith attached. Finally, please remember, the aliens are here, and have been here for thousands of years, so, please try to understand that we are simply doing our best to educate you all concerning matters which have been kept concealed from the general public by the ruling elite, but which are now, in these last days, being revealed to the world. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, UK. Cosmic Research Foundation. Mark A. Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@hotmail.com. Tel 91-8596-224312/9959-684635. Date February 8, 2009. At first, I was stunned because of the mentioning of A.R. Ray Borden being mentioned in this SIOP, and I must admit that made me skeptical of LPGC intentions for a while. However, nothing is what it seems, and after have researched LPGC very intensively, and communicated with the scientists there a lot for the last 6 to 8 months, I have learned how S.A.A.L.M and the ACIO work. Around the time of 2007 to 2008, an eventful time period in many ways, it seems, LPGC were subjected to a major slander campaign that almost got them out of business, so to speak. They were infiltrated by this ACIO agent, Roy W. Gordon, who stole pictures and sensitive material from the Life Physics Group California and escaped with it. I have mentioned this story elsewhere in my papers. Around the same time, or shortly after, S.A.A.L.M, in conjunction with ACIO, started using LPGC names in their own email correspondence, pretending this closed group of scientists were part of S.A.A.L.M, and they also faked their email addresses to extend the harassment and to muddle the waters further. Dr. Gordon also contacts people on the internet via forums and directly through emails. I have personally had a few, not so pleasant, encounters with him regarding Supreme Rockefeller, where he said Supreme is not whom he says he is, and he started emphasizing he, Roy, is working for the NSA, which couldn't be interpreted otherwise than a covert threat. I stood up against him, and he disappeared. I never heard anything more from him on that subject. Anyhow, over time I have learned beyond any doubt that LPGC or any of its members have never been a part, or in liaison with, this Serpent Clan group. The people at Pine Gap are professionals when comes to confuse the public, to count out their opponents. One way of doing so is to play both parties in a conflict, war, or game. Still, I am not surprised to see Brzezinski and Kissinger on the ACIO/S.A.A.L.M member list. Now it's time to reveal who Rev. Anthony Pike really is and the character of this man, the professional disinformation agent who screwed up big time for S.A.A.L.M. He is telling us a lot of relevant things, but also mixes in blatant lies to sidetrack those who want to know the truth. Albeit, by the time of this writing, I would be surprised if either Roy W. Gordon or Rev. Anthony Pike are still part of the Pine Gap group. They have been more of an embarrassment to their group than of assistance. I am aware of that. Dr. Gordon is still signing off his emails with Pine Gap, but again, I would be mighty surprised if he is still with the group. In 2008, he was the one who put me on Pike's mailing list, without my consent, but I left it alone, because some topics were of some interest to me. I very rarely posted anything on that list, but mostly just read the postings from others. However, Rev. Pike's behavior on the list became more and more bizarre, and one day he posted something that really caught me off guard. This guy lives in India and Great Britain, respectively, and he is supposedly pro-environmental. In this series of emails he seriously stated that he wants all motor vehicle drivers shot on the spot, or trialed for crimes against humanity, and executed. As a response to my reaction to this statement, he said he was seriously kidding, but if you continue reading the emails below, you'll see he was deadly serious. Original message. From, Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, mail to cosmicrif@xxx.com, sent, Saturday, March 17, 2007, 5:05 a.m. to, cosmicrif@xxx.com. Subject, Steps to Save the Planet. Steps to Save the Planet. 1. Shoot all car/truck/bus/bike drivers on site and airline pilots. 2. Plant 1 billion trees. NB. Steps must be implemented immediately to avoid a global catastrophe and extinction of human race. P.S. To escape being shot, stop driving your car. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, UK. Cosmic Research Foundation Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@xxx.com. Date March 17, 2007. Cosmic Research Foundation Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@xxx.com. From Wes at XXX. To Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike. Subject: Steps to Save the Planet. Date: Sat. March 17, 2007, 14 hours 17 minutes and 32 seconds -0700. Are you kidding or are you serious? Wes Penre. Illuminati News. Dear Jojo equals Prophet Yahweh, Wes comment. This is just to help clarify who is a Satanist and who isn't. A Satanist is a sinner. A Christian is a saint. Satan managed to separate the church from the state so that his kingdom on earth would not be affected. Satan then proceeded to take over control of the church so that now both church and state are controlled by Satan. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, UK. Cosmic Research Foundation Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@xxx.com. Date March 17, 2007. Cosmic Research Foundation Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@xxx.com. From Prophet Yahweh. To Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike. Subject: Steps to Save the Planet. Date: Sat. March 17, 2007, 8 hours 36 minutes and 2 seconds -0700, PDT. In the blessed and holy name of Yahweh. Dear Anthony Pike. I am not a Christian. I am a Black Orthodox Jew. And based on what you said, only Christians are saints. I strongly disagree with what you said. Also, your second email below, about shooting all who drive, reminds me of how people who looked like you declared that all my people, slaves, who ran off from their plantations, to find freedom in the northern non-slave states, were to be shot on sight. Whether you were joking or not, I did not appreciate receiving your last two emails to me. Because of these 2 points, I politely ask that you take me off your list. Thanking you in advance. Prophet Yahweh. Dear Pastor Ramon. There's no difference between a true Jew and a true Christian. However, if you're a fake Jew or Christian, you got problems. Regarding car drivers, they are guilty of mass murder and genocide and should be tried for war crimes and then executed. If this is not done, God will do it himself in the day of God's wrath from 2012-2030, Rev 11.18. Regarding our mailing list, I will give you time to cool down as yours is purely any emotional reaction, and, furthermore, you have already been appointed as one of our X-Men. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, UK. Cosmic Research Foundation. Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@hotmail.com. Date March 19, 2007. Dear Wes. Thought I'd wake a few people up. Yes, I'm seriously kidding. Watch this space for more info on the subject. God ain't finished with this planet yet. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Anthony G. Pike, UK. Cosmic Research Foundation. Marque Per, AP 523316, India. Email cosmicrif@xxx.com. Date March 19, 2007. Date March 22, 2007. From Wes at XXX. To Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike. Subject: Steps to Save the Planet. Dear Rev. Pike. I strongly agree with Prophet Yahweh. I was shocked to get the message, see bottom of this email, that car drivers etc. should be shot. Are you trying to help the Illuminati to reduce the population? In my eyes, this would be mass murder or genocide, far worse than Hitler's Holocaust. Looks like you are showing your real satanic colors, Pastor. If there were only two choices I could make and I had to make one, whether to follow you or Hitler, I think Hitler is the better choice. At least the amount of victims of his were only within the million bracket. Who are you to decide who is to live and who is to die? We don't need yet another genocide, sir. As a matter of fact, we don't need any more killing whatsoever. Haven't we had enough already? I don't know what is clouding your eyes, but whatever it is it will lead you straight to the place you warn others about. Please remove me from the list and I would appreciate if you distributed this, my letter, to the rest of the group. Thank you. Wes Penre, Illuminati News. P.S. I will burn the information kit you sent me in the mail. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Dear Wes. Thanks for your and Prophet Yahweh's great words of wisdom. You and him are the type of people that brought Hitler to power and will shortly bring the Antichrist to power through total lack of understanding of what I've said and the aim of saying it. Prophet Yahweh, for instance, thinks I want to kill car drivers because car drivers are purposely going around trying to run people over. Okay, why don't you put your mouth over the exhaust pipe for 1 minute and see what happens? Yes, you got it, you'll be dead. So, every time you go around in your car you are literally murdering thousands of people. I also heard that car exhaust fumes are radioactive, so, what with computer screens, mobile phones and TVs, let alone nuclear reactors and bombs, the whole planet is in radioactive meltdown. Yours in the battle for planet Earth. Rev. Dr. Anthony G. Pike, UK. James Casbolt, the former MI6 S.A.A.L.M member and more, who was also on this list, but not very talkative, mentions Pike as a friend in his book, Agent Buried Alive. Needless to say, I left the group shortly after I'd blasted Pike, telling him things I don't want to repeat here. Ramon, Prophet Yahweh, was equally upset and left as well. I guess all organizations have their agents who can't control themselves, and so does S.A.A.L.M. Here are excerpts from emails posted on the Godlike Productions Forum, GLP. In December 2009, where Dr. Gordon is threatening one of the forum members. I will quote the whole post. Well, I recently checked my email and was surprised to see this email in my inbox. Unfortunately, I reported it as a phishing scam to Google, and they took it out of my box. But, I did save the message. This was from a-c-t-i-o-n_acio@hotmail.com, so I guess feel free to email him. Stay away from any subject matter dealing with Lord Marduk or you will be terminated with extreme prejudice. You have been warned. Dr. Roy Gordon. Action_ACIO. Psalm 33 Degree of Zion. Pine Gap. Nth, Australia. As a note aside, the above email from Dr. Gordon reminds me of the law under which the members are subjected. Items 5 and 6 of that law, taken from a leaked, secret intranet conversation between members, says. Item 5 dissuades us from disclosing anyone from the association with S.A.A.L.M punishable by death. Item 6 tell us that the agency will seek extreme termination with prejudice in the case of a breach of this agreement resulting in the disclosure of unauthorized information, beginning with extreme harassment sick in order to stop the disclosure. Dr. Gordon apparently felt a power rush at the moment and tried to instigate the threat of a similar nature being applied to public who reveal too much about King Marduk. However, if true that Dr. Gordon has been expelled from S.A.A.L.M, public statement like this was probably part of his problem. Dr. Gordon also has a Facebook account which is much more laid back.